Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so if you've ever stared at a massive long-form economics question and thought, man, I know this material backwards and forwards, but what exactly does the grader actually want to see? Well, you're in the right place. Today, I'm putting on my insider examiner hat. We're going to completely pull back the curtain on the precise writing patterns you need to absolutely crush those 3, 6, 9, and 12 mark economics questions. No more guessing. We're going to look at the exact frameworks that turn all that economic knowledge in your head into maximum marks on the page. Now take a look at this direct quote straight from the 2023 guidance for examiners. Read it super carefully. Not a definition of the key term. Look, as an examiner, the absolute most common reason I dock points is simply because students waste their precious exam time writing out generic textbook definitions right at the top of their answers. They think it's going to earn them a nice little safety mark. Spoiler alert, it won't. If the question asks for an impact or an effect, that is exactly what you're being graded on. Context is literally everything here. So we're going to level up your exam strategy right now so you can stop dropping these super easy points. So here's our game plan for today. First, the examiner's secret formula. Second, the 3-mark foundation. Third, analyzing for 6 marks. Fourth, assessing for 9 marks. Fifth, evaluating for 12 marks. And finally, applying real-world business examples. All right, let's jump straight into part 1, the examiner's secret formula. I want you to think of this whole explainer kind of like a video game progression, and we are starting right here at level 1. The biggest secret in these economics exams is that every single long-form answer, whether it's worth 3 marks or a whopping 12 marks, is built out of the exact same fundamental building blocks. You seriously don't need to learn 10 different writing styles. You just need to master one core structure and then just learn how to stack it. But hey, before we start stacking anything, we absolutely have to talk about command words. If you ignore these, you are basically playing the wrong game. Analyze means you only need a one-sided argument. Don't waste time writing about drawbacks if it only asks for benefits. Assess, on the other hand, requires a two-sided argument, both the agree and disagree sides. But critically, no conclusion is needed. None. And evaluate, well, that's the big one. That requires a two-sided argument plus a final, fully supported conclusion. You've got to memorize these command terms. It's the best way to stop losing marks by writing conclusions where they aren't rewarded or totally missing them where they're mandatory. Moving on to part 2, the 3-mark foundation. Okay, let's see how this actually builds our base. This is the simple, totally repeatable formula that forms the absolute backbone of every single high-scoring answer you're going to write. I call it the rule of 3. Step 1, state your reason or your point. Step 2, explain the cause or the context. Just think of the word because. Step 3, explain the consequence. Think of the words leads to or therefore. This highly specific sequence perfectly matches our marking rubric. So let's say the question asks how government spending on infrastructure benefits an economy. Step 1, it creates greater communication and efficient resource transfer. Step 2, because materials can be transported more easily on new roads. Step 3, therefore, this greater efficiency boosts economic growth. Boom, 1, 2, 3 marks, just like that. The really crucial takeaway here is avoiding that classic student mistake we talked about earlier, dropping a totally unrelated memorized definition and then just listing a messy pile of random facts. Instead, you've got to remember that as graders, we are actively looking for a contextualized cause and effect that links directly back to the given scenario. If the prompt is about the US building 10,000 new bridges, your context needs to be specifically about those bridges requiring labor, which then reduces unemployment. Always anchor your answer to the scenario. All right, level 2, section 3, analyzing for 6 marks. When you come across a 6-mark question with a command term analyze, honestly, things really don't get that much more complicated. 2. That is your magic number here. A 6-mark analyze question is literally just your 3-mark foundation repeated twice. Yep, you just need to write 2 3-mark answers. Remember our command words from earlier? Analyze does not require a balanced two-sided argument, not at all. So if it asks you to analyze the limitations of using GDP, you just need to provide one limitation using that 3-step formula, and then immediately give a second limitation using the exact same 3-step formula. And that's it. To pull back the curtain a bit, as an examiner, this is exactly how I calculate your score. For a 6-mark question, 3 marks are dedicated to knowledge, that's assessment objective 2, and 3 marks are for analysis, which is assessment objective 3. Now, to break out of that basic level 1 band and jump up into the highly coveted level 3 band, you need clear knowledge with appropriate theory, and it has to be paired with excellent interpretation of the provided information. You can't just be vague or generic. Your thorough analysis has to connect directly to the data provided in the question to secure those top level 3 marks. Leveling up again, Section 4, Assessing for 9 marks. Okay, so to make the leap from 6 marks to 9 marks, you are moving from a one-sided argument to a two-sided argument. This is huge. You absolutely must introduce the counter-argument to unlock the extra marks here. You need your agree side, which again is built with our 3-step foundation, and your disagree side, also built with that exact same foundation. But critically, look at the warning here. No conclusion. The rubric for a 9-mark assess question just does not reward a final conclusion. So seriously, do not waste your precious exam time writing one. Now, to make a really smooth shift from your agree points over to your disagree points, you want to use crystal clear transition signposts. Start a brand new paragraph and hit the examiner with phrases like, however, on the other hand, or there are limitations to. Using these instantly signals to the grader, hey, I am now providing balanced analysis and moving to the other viewpoint. Honestly, it makes our job of giving you marks so much easier. Which brings us to the final boss, Section 5, Evaluating for 12 marks. All right, this is it. This is where the highest stakes lie. Breaking down the rubric for a 12-mark evaluate question reveals 4 equal buckets, each worth 3 marks. Knowledge is 3, application is 3, balanced analysis, meaning you argued both sides effectively, is 3, and then there is AO4B, supported judgment and conclusion. The conclusion all by itself is worth a massive 3 points. Think about that. If you write a totally brilliant 2-sided essay, but you run out of time for the conclusion, you have automatically thrown away 25% of the points for the entire question. No way we want that to happen. So the big question, how exactly do we secure those final 3 conclusion marks? Well, here is your definitive checklist. Do not just summarize what you already said. That's a huge trap. You need to make an actual judgment. A great trick is to start your conclusion with the phrase, it depends on, and then mention specific factors. You could contrast the short-term impacts against the long-term impacts. You could discuss the sheer size and magnitude of the economic change, or you could differentiate the impact on various stakeholders. For instance, explaining how policy affects low-income earners quite differently than high-income earners, or maybe how it impacts small domestic firms versus massive foreign firms. That is what we call high-level evaluation. And finally, Section 6, applying real-world business examples. So, to consistently lock down those application marks we just talked about, your economic theories have to be anchored to the real world. Here is a major insider pro tip straight from my examiner notes. Utilize well-known real-world corporations. Doing this instantly signals high-level understanding to the person grading your paper. Don't just talk generally about a firm. Talk about Apple, or Tesco, or Unilever. It shows you actually understand how these abstract textbook theories operate in the real, breathing global economy. To make this super actionable for you, here is a quick cheat sheet of specific businesses you can easily memorize and deploy for the most commonly repeated questions. If your question is about economies of scale or purchasing power, just use Apple or Tesco as your go-to example. If the question asks about takeovers, mergers, and external growth, mention Facebook's massive acquisition of Instagram and WhatsApp. When you're discussing the wide-ranging impacts of multinational corporations or MNCs on developing economies, Unilever or Samsung are absolutely perfect examples. And if you ever need to talk about survival in competitive markets, anchor that directly to small local businesses. Literally, just memorize these, and you'll have instant top-tier application marks ready to go at a moment's notice. All right, so let's recap real quick. We've broken down the 3-step foundation. We know 6 marks is just 2 points. We know 9 marks requires a 2-sided argument with absolutely 0 conclusion. And we know the 12-mark final boss requires both sides plus a heavily supported it depends on conclusion peppered with some awesome real-world examples. So here is a real, frequently repeated past paper question for you. Evaluate the impact of economies of scale on a firm's competitiveness. 12 marks. I want you to grab a pen. Use the Apple or Tesco example we talked about. Apply the framework. Are you ready to level up? Because I know for sure you have exactly what it takes now. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I will catch you in the next explainer.